just to go and begin here, as everyone comes on in, this is 𝐴𝐿, and we're an organization that's focused on the decision makers from software startups that are either have already raised their Series A or are aspirational in raising their Series A. Or, of course, I want to include any of the bootstrapped companies because I wouldn't want to ostracize myself from my own group. So what are we going to do? This is just an episode of our Actionable Intelligence series. So we're going to have one actionable takeaway presented in 15 minutes and then a 10-minute discussion. Just while we're waiting for people to come in, bias to anyone that is already part of the group, we're simply going to introduce ourselves, name, role, company, and what you're looking for, and then pass the mic. So in my case, I am Josh Rosenthal, Community Manager at 𝐴𝐿, and I'm looking for leaders at startups to join 𝐴𝐿. Just build that community. That's all it is right now. So I know that we have somebody on the lunch break right now. Philippe, if I can get you between bites, let me just pass it on over to you for an intro.
So I'm Philip, based in Belgium. Mostly interested in joining this group and listening in. Is fairly interested in what's going around in startup world, and still trying to twist my brain in what my next startup would look like. So
absolutely,
and it will be mostly AI or security related. That's me.
That's your specialty, that intersection between cybersecurity and AI. Mr. Yuri, I'm going to give you kind of two bites of the apple here. One to represent yourself, and then the next to go and talk about your presentation today. So, if you'd introduce yourself, use the bulleted format, and then I'll kick it on over to you, and we'll introduce you.
Absolutely. My name is Yuri. I'm a Dutchman living in Spain. Love travel and business and helping people to use their utmost potential in life, and love these communities. So that's why I'm not only running my own sales training and advice company as an agency, but also Sales Hookup, which is a global B2B sales community. And I'm always looking for people that are seeking advice on sales and how to scale their business.
Excellent. And that leads us right into today, talking about getting your design partners and early adopters. So who we have, Yuri, who's with us today. He's an author, and as he already said, a founder. Trust Me, I'm a Salesman is his book. And he's the founder at Sales Hookup, where he's done a lot of community building of his own, for his own community focused on salespeople. And so with that, let me push this on over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So as I'm sharing my screen, and Josh, it would be great to also get your input because we are today, apart from the people from live at LinkedIn, with a small group, so we can have a nice discussion, podcast style maybe. Mm-hmm. So I will skip this part already. Introduced myself. I have three beautiful kids, Manu, Evia, and Gavi. And as you already mentioned, I'm the author. If we talk about, and then please use menti.com, Josh and Philip. Please take your phone so I know that you're logged in, and open a browser. www.menti.com, MENTI.com, and use the code 448-58945. And please share with me what you would like to gain out of this session. And we're going to focus on how to find early adopters and design partners if you scale or if you want to start your business. So, Philippe, if you want to launch your AI security-based company and you are looking for design partners, that is exactly the essence of this session. Now, I've been training and coaching sales organizations for the last 20 years. So, I've trained around 30,000 people, 35,000 people, work with a few hundred organizations, all around B2B sales and finding clients, scaling your company, and growing your business. So Philippe, if you also want to share, take your phone, go to menti.com, menti.com, and then I would love to learn more about what you would like to gain out of this session, if you can.
All right, and
I'm
I've
driving,
shared that.
so
Yeah.
it's difficult. Sorry.
Yeah. I've gone and shared that in the Google Meet, and now I'm also going to be bringing it to the, there we go, to the LinkedIn Live. So everybody on both sides should
Can see it.
Yeah.
Nice. Sebastian Holst, welcome.
Yeah, Sebastian.
Fantastic. So let's start. Today's topic is how to get early design or early adopters, design partners. And Sebastian Holst, if you want to share, is there specifically an interest that you have to find design partners or early adopters? Is there anything specifically you would like to gain out of this session?
I'm interested in the topic. I don't come with a question preloaded. I'm listening with all three of my ears, my brain in the middle. I'm sure I'll have some at the end.
Yeah.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah. And Sebastian, thanks for being here as a former presenter and now community
Great
member.
topic. Great topic. Sorry, I'm 30 seconds late there. I apologize.
That's okay. So what we will cover is what it actually is, a design partner and early adopter, so where to find them, how to sell to them, how to start working with them. And the most important thing is actually the Q&A, which I love. If I go too fast, Philippe or Sebastian or Josh, let me know. Because it's late here in Europe and I'm hungry. So let's go. What is the definition? A design partner is an early user who actively collaborates with you to shape the product or solution before it's market ready. And that is the most important nuance, where the majority of salespeople or business is done with products and services that have been proven. You have your logo, you have your reference clients, you have your SLAs ready, you got your success manager, Josh, the whole ecosystem. But now you're coming with something and it's not ready. And that is a total different ball game. In fact, I even wrote a sales advice as a newsletter back in 2009, how it is different to sell this than regularly. I called it the evangelization sales as opposed to regular sales, which has some overlap. So a design partner, usually, if we look at these characteristics, is innovation-oriented. So we have to look for people that are innovation-oriented, they're curious, and they're risk-tolerant. It's not your average accountant or a CFO that wants predictability. No, it's the opposite. These are people that like to break rules, like to try out new stuff. They want to be first to benefit from new tech or insights. And so these are different kind of people. If you have conservative people or companies around you, that is not the best profile. They give more and direct feedback. They don't beat around the bush than regular customers. They help you to improve, change, and adapt your solution. And most important, they have to validate. Because in the end, what do we want if we have our startups? We want a perfectly niche ICP, the ideal customer profile. And the more niche it is, the better it is. If you have an ICP defined very broadly, it's a recipe for disaster. There's so many companies, like Flywire, for example, out of Valencia. They had a payment solution. They only focused specifically on MBA, large schools and education institutions in the world. They became the world leader before branching out to others. So if you want to nail your solution to specific markets, then the more specific, so you have to be careful which design partner you eventually choose, because that's validated towards their feedback. And everybody's different. Opinions are like, everybody's got one. So we have to be careful who we choose as a design partner, because they can shape, they can make, they can even break us, because we may tailor it to the wrong market. So the selection is crucial here, because what market are we validating? So please take your phone again and go to menti.com, Sebastian. Go to menti.com on your phone, menti.com, and Philip as well. Josh, if you can, please, as well. And answer the three main questions. Have you worked with design partners or early adopters before? Are you confident how to get them? And are you confident, or did you see clearly the difference between design partners and early adopters? So I have two people logged in. So maybe Philip is eating his burger, which is possible. Now I'm jealous.
No, I'm driving.
Oh,
I'm
you're
driving.
driving. Okay. Don't use the phone, Philip. Don't use it. I want you safe and hazard-free. So then Sebastian and Josh, please vote from absolutely not to absolutely yes. So I know what experience you have and where you are at the scale. All right, so Philip is not going to vote, and I hope that you won't. I don't want any accidents on my conscience. So, so we worked with them before. You are pretty confident, so it's more interesting to learn about the nuances. So, usually, why is it difficult to find them? Who has an idea? Why is it typically difficult to find design partners? Why is that such a big deal?
You know, one of the issues that I've had in the past is trying to sell the future vision. And one of the benefits of having a product to sell is that you can show it here and now, it's ready to go, rather than here's the concept and here's where we're going. And they have to be able to see that same thing that you see, describing them, bringing them there. I found to be difficult.
Fantastic. A great challenge. I mean, more referring to locating them. You're sitting behind your computer. How can you find them? Where to look? Apart from how to sell, that is in 2 slides. So that's later. So why is it difficult to find them? It is, yeah.
One of the pieces of advice that I give, and I don't know if this lines up, is if you have time in industry, you probably know the first couple personally. The first couple come from your cell phone. The next bunch come from your LinkedIn. After that, you need something to scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And we only need a handful, but usually it's difficult because there is an ocean of possibilities. So how to select, how to find is a big challenge. So you're spot on, Josh. The first thing is you look in your own network. The reason why is usually, hopefully, your startup is related to your background. If it's not, I would advise you maybe to pivot a little bit. So you have experience in your field. So Philippe, I'm sure that you have experience in a security space, that makes sense. So that means that you already have a network. So your existing professional network, because you don't have to sell yourself as a reliable person in your own network. You don't have to introduce, it's not a cold contact. So those are low-hanging fruit. Well, at least it's low-hanging. We don't know if it's fruit yet. That's the most obvious one, which might be different in sales. Newly hired leaders in the domain. So if you know that somebody just got hired, head of security, and they're just new in a role, usually if people are new, they're looking to change things. The last thing they want is to just copy and paste what the previous guy did before. It's their job to change or to transform most of the time. So even on LinkedIn, you can search for specific profiles and say, just got hired the last 30 days. Those are new people on the job, and they're critical. They're going to look around, and they're not married to legacy. If they're not married to legacy, you don't have to help them to fight the status quo, because they already want to fight the status quo. So that might be an interesting way to look at it. And also the companies where the gap is the largest between what they have and what you could bring. So if you have an innovation or something to do something different, just go where it's the worst or where it's the biggest difference, because that's where you can add the biggest value. Or people talking about the problem on forums, for example, then you clearly can see a potential fit. And there are always companies that have their own lab or R&D and are known to reach out to smaller type of tailor-made solutions, and they don't go for the more obvious solutions. They want to be different, and there are specific companies that always seek to innovate. They even have teams that team up with startups to make sure that they use the cutting-edge technologies and not just the mainstream. So this is where we can find them. Now, why is it selling to them different than regular selling? We already spoke about it. Versus learning versus revenue. If you sell, you want to make money. Whereas now design partner is mostly learning. Maybe you can get paid a little bit for it, for your work, but that's not the goal. And that should never be the goal. The goal is learning. It's the collaboration versus the transaction. So that means that it's more about discovery than persuasion, and flexibility versus a finished product, and validation versus growth. Now, this may sound like nice buzzwords, Josh, Philip, and Sebastian, but I've seen it real life. I was working in Holland, in Amsterdam, in my office. I had the startup. They had a PR solution. I remember it while I was working on the slides, and it was fantastic. The guy was making cold calls, rejection after rejection after rejection, and I was a cold call master trainer, and I've listened to it, and I said, listen, you do everything right, but there's something wrong. He said, what? I said, you're a challenger, because there are like 3 big PR databases, and they were a small startup. They had their own online platform. It was completely new. They were not established yet. I said, you're selling your value, your product, your platform. Nobody knows it. It is not even finished yet. Why don't you tell the real story? This is an inspiring story. You're one of the founders. Tell your story why you're the founder, and that you're looking for major players, the biggest users of PR, and find out what their biggest challenges are, because you are currently shaping your solution, and they can direct you in, because they may be your future client. Why did you call Heineken? I know someone at Heineken. And he called Heineken, said, and tell your founder story why you thought that the current solutions were not good enough and why you're investing in this. And let's see if he likes your story. Just your story. Stop selling. And he told the story, and as transparent as possible. He got a meeting, and he became a very big client, and they helped to shape their solution. And it was a complete switch. And that company later on became actually one of the biggest data solutions on PR out of nothing. Now, I won't say that I had the biggest impact in there, but I did play a crucial role to get that first step. Because if you take that first hurdle, that's the greatest thing. Because we really need to know really, really well what we are offering. We're offering our skills, our backgrounds, our time, and dedicated attention to solving a problem, and our commitment to get it done. We're not just selling, we're on a mission. We're on a mission. If you feel your mission, and people feel it, people see it, the only thing they need to do is then believe it. But this, my friends, is not enough. Because what we should stop doing is sell the solution. That's the last thing you want. Don't do demos or product presentations, even if you have a mock-up. Don't do mock-ups. It's ridiculous. Wait for it. It's the last thing you want to do. Don't promise outcomes. We need to sell the process itself. If there's an outcome, I mean, you can talk about your vision and what you'd like to achieve, but we cannot sell outcomes yet, because we need to be part of the process. The reason for that is the outcome, we cannot guarantee it. If you guarantee it, we don't have a product yet. So it's a chicken and an egg story. They have to believe in your vision and be aligned, and then we need to be part of the process to find the best way to solve the problem. So these are my tips, and then it's, I think, Q&A time. Yeah, that's the last thing. So these are my personal tips as a sales expert. Get executive sponsorship as early as possible. Everybody likes to talk to you. They like you. They think you're a beautiful person. They love your network. You have coffee. You have lunch. You do your meetings. That's all nice, but if there's no executive sponsorship, especially if it's a bigger company, nobody wants to burn their hands. We need to find one executive who says, I like this stuff. They can play with it. And this is the most important thing, because the last thing you want is wasting too much time when you don't really get the feedback, you don't really get the exposure, you don't really get the access to other people, then there's no point. We have to be obsessive about the problem. We love this problem so much, you need to feel it and get so frustrated about it. We need to be obsessive about the problem, not the solution. The problem. We need to love and own it. And say, I won't stop until I fix this. And then we need to start with a small commitment first, because if one guy says, okay, let's do a workshop and just talk about how it would look like, that's it, that's enough. And then after this workshop, you say, well, can we do 3 series or some interviews? It doesn't matter how you start, because while you are part of the process, now we're going to build a coalition. Now we're going to build a fan base. Now it needs to spread, so we become part of the process that we can innovate together. So we have the sponsorship, we start small, and then we build the coalition, because even if there's an executive sponsorship out there for us, it doesn't mean that he will move mountains for you because it's too risky. So I'm for it, but you need to make sure that there is enough support in my company. We need to sell our skills, the vision, the benefits, never ever the solution. The features are what we already have, as I remember already said. Now remember their benefit. We're selling their benefits in the beginning and in the end. They have the ability to shape the solution completely to their environment. They can shape it. It's fantastic. If they think you can get it done, or even believe remotely, they have firsthand. It's almost like it's tailor-made. And they see your motivation, so they know you're going to fight to get it done. Because the biggest problem companies have is the execute and completion of projects. So many initiatives and so few that see the light of day. And if they see your drive, say you won't stop until you get it done, it's nice, because then you think that this might actually change. And their benefit is also to have access to your exceptional skills and insights. There's a reason why you're independent. There's a reason why you have this startup. There's a reason why you're putting all your money and your effort into this, so you have exceptional skills and insights, and they have access to it. Not as an employee, but as an outsider who will fight for it. Now, we need to sell scarcity, because you really bring something to the table. And we don't need 10 design partners. That is ridiculous, because you cannot design 10 things, maybe 2 or 3. That's it. It's all scarcity. So we need to get alternatives, and we need to say, okay, we're interested to work with 2 or 3 design partners. Sorry for the spelling mistake here, but it's about scarcity. It's 2 or 3, and that's it. So you can be part of it, or I move on. It's not that we're desperate for it. Oh, they maybe want to do it with us. I'm really happy. No. You also have, you give commitment, but you can also ask for commitment, because we are also selecting. So we need to make sure that we speak to enough people within the arena that we think that are ideal first launching customers with plenty of lookalikes. And they're the ones that we approach with the idea to sell scarcity. Because if it's 3 design partners, that's it. Then I'm full.
So in that, with the scarcity, is this where you might put in some form of payment? I mean, this is always that difficult balance. What do you have them pay? One of the concepts I sometimes talk about is the theoretical $1 a month. That is some absolutely low amount of money that just gets the wallet open. So how do you know when to just say, you know what? There's no cost. When is it, quote unquote, $1 a month? And when do you try to go up the trough a bit and to get a larger fiscal relationship?
Well, it really depends. I also think on your the average value. Well, it's the impact of your solution and what the average deal size is. So if you are looking for design partner for a $15 SaaS subscription, then what's the point to ask for money? Then it's mostly symbolic. You can do it. What do you want? $100 to $200? It doesn't mean much. $20 2 years for free, $400. I mean, that's it's not enough to even mention it. Then it's more important to find the best partners. If your solution is $20K a month or $40K a year, 3-year contract, if it starts there or up to $1 million or $2 million, depends on the size of your solution, the higher it goes, the more important the commitment becomes.
Right.
The reason for that, if you want to shape your solution with a design partner and it's a $20 thing, the problem is that they don't give it enough commitment because of the low dollar amount when it is a product. And because that low level of dollar amount, it means they may cancel your meetings. They may not spend enough time to give feedback. And it's just one user. It's not a design partner. It's just one guy who says, well, I have access to your platform. I can give you some feedback. That's not the same. The early adopter, the design partner that really sits down, that goes through the entire customer journey and sees the impact and the need for reporting. Yeah, okay, then you want a lot more commitment. Hopefully, the dollar value is high. Now, if you need that level of feedback, but the dollar value will be low, then I would find like advisory service that you sell only to them, but it won't end up in your project. So at least you can save your time a little bit for that. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, obviously there's no one way to do it, and it is a bit amorphous. The lines are painted with watercolors, so I understand the point you're making. We only have a couple minutes left in case there's other questions. Philippe, Mr. Sebastian,
Sure.
either of you.
I mean, I have a sort of maybe a comment that so it's not phrased as a question, but I'd certainly like your feedback or your impression. So one of the character traits that I look for and I try to nurture is I want my partner to feel ownership. When, whether it's a design partner or maybe a really large customer, right? If somebody gives you a huge piece of their budget, it's a similar thing. I use the phrase, it's not my phrase, but I use it, going native, right? When you have somebody where all of a sudden their personal emotional response is more on your side of the fence than perhaps on theirs, to their companies. And so when you have a design partner, you obviously go out of your way to show how their feedback is being incorporated into the decisions you make, because it's not always obvious. Somebody might say, I like X, Y, and Z. And you say, well, because of that, I did A, B, and C. And you see how you get there. No, it's not always, you're not doing consulting, obviously, right? So they give you a request and you interpret it. So you want to tell them that, and you want to foster that ownership, because one is they're going to recommend you and be references. They're going to fight for you, and they're going to be even more forgiving when you have those early missteps, right? Because it'll be like they're kind of covering up their own process, right? So I agree with everything you said. So I'm not in any way marginalizing your points. I'm sort of adding to it in terms of the qualification, which is I like to look for somebody who is going to be emotionally invested as well as a domain expert. In terms of the pricing for larger companies, I either put a timeline on it for high price things. So you buy as much as you want for free for the first year, encouraging, a huge amount of uptake, then maybe they pay for maintenance, or after that they pay for subscription. And sometimes I do by division. So if it's really a large, say, oh, you're in the whatever division, for you, it's nothing, right? But all your other divisions, why should they benefit? Why should their budgets get the benefit? Meanwhile, you've got their emotional investment, you've got adoption, and what better way? Internal references, as I'm preaching to the preacher. Internal references are the best, right? So you're sort of doing that. So part of the outcome, you say you don't do it for money, not immediate. I agree, but if there isn't a financial upside down the line, I would worry that maybe they're not as aligned with my vision as I'd hope. Because why wouldn't there be an opportunity? Because they should care about this, right? Anyway, that's my tiny monologue.
Yeah.
Awesome presentation. It's an important process in the growth of a company. I totally agree.
So, Sebastian, the way I heard it is you're talking about that early user versus that early partner, right? If they're not invested in it, then all they are really is just a user. You might get some feedback, but you're not digging in.
But even but the partner might do it. Like, in other words, if I were to do I'm oversimplifying, but you said, oh, somebody new in a position, right? They just got hired, they're looking to make changes, right? They might still say after 6 months, I'm cutting you off. You're terrible, and, that's fine. But I want that to emotionally hurt them. Like, I want them to be the kind of person that's like, it's like cutting off my arm. Like, I love this thing. Like, I love this. This is a part of me is in that. I'm not going to cut that. Like, I'm going to go, it's going to take a lot, so I want that. I don't want that cold calculating, purely pragmatic partner. I want somebody that's going to feel like, and I'll foster that. I mean, I'll go out of my way to encourage them to feel that way.
Nice. I think it's a great comment. So thank you for chiming in and sharing that view. And I completely agree. Being emotionally invested is also important to have the resilience when things go wrong. Maybe a great addition to it, I listened very carefully, Sebastian, to every single word you said. When you mentioned, which is right, to give feedback, you wanted ABC, and look, we've done DEF. Can you see? I would like to add to that as an idea, because I always like to add value wherever I can. Another way to go about, hey, I want ABC, to not only show we've done DEF, but also to check and see what was the impact within their organization with your DEF, to check the outcomes of your initiatives, not only the symbolic, hey, we've made those changes, but to really proactively gather the impact, because in the end, money goes where value is. And even if it's a free design part in the beginning, and after a year and everything is fantastic, eventually it's not like they have a lifelong access for nothing. Wherever there is value, price will be attached to that. That's a great way to always, what is your anchor point? It's not only your emotional investment, but it's also the eventual outcome, the benefits, the changes, the contribution, the positive impact that you can bring. And this is where it gets not tricky, but a little bit complex, because you are initially, not you personally, but if you are a startup founder and you're shaping your solution, you're mostly interested not only in that particular partner for future money reference, but also something that scales and that you can sell to others. So you're looking to get to that first product and solution. And at the same token, it is always important to continuously measure outcomes and impact, because in the end, we may fall in love with the way how our product is set up, and we forget that in the end, if we don't have the right impact or effect of the outcomes, then
your point is that's the high order bit. What you're saying is the most important. I was just adding a little bit of frosting to the top. I didn't mean to suggest it was more important. It's just for the perfect candidate, I also want them to have that emotional element. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. So fantastic, Sebastian. Maybe I don't know if we can or should stop the recording, but I'm interested, Sebastian. What do you currently do?
Oh, I do a lot of consulting, and I have a couple startup ideas that I'm baking, but I haven't made the emotional decision to have the tunnel vision required.
Real quick, just because I do like to try to stick to the timing of everything, what I'd like to do now is bring the stream to an end, and obviously the people that are inside of the meeting can continue to stay. But at this point, let's sign off of the stream. So, Mr. Yuri, I really appreciate it. And Sebastian, I'm glad that you've not only presented, but come back to offer your perspective, especially on this topic, which I think is central. And then to have Philippe, who I'm trying to twist this guy's arm, trying to twist his arm to come in early November to go and talk about that intersection of cybersecurity and AI. So for everybody on the stream, thank you very much for being here. Tell a friend, and see everybody next week. So this is the end of that stream.